Looking Forward Show. Jeff Abramowitz here. I'm so glad to be here in 2022, our first show of the year. And you're listening to the Looking Forward Show. We're Philly Cam Radio, WPPM LP 106.5. And you can watch us live right now on Philly Cam TV. We're live streaming on Xfinity 66 and 96. iOS TV 29 and 30, Roku, Apple TV, and Facebook Live, and a whole bunch of other places. But those are the big ones. So I'm looking forward to a great show. We have a tremendous guest today. I'm going so out of starting off on this whole we did a new intro on this. And before I begin, I want to start by saying this. In 2022, we're going to be doing some different things on the show. And we're really looking for some ideas, some talent, and we're looking for some people that want to have a voice. So if you have an idea or concept for the show this year and you want to get on and you think you really have something you want to share with the Philadelphia or national community about justice, please, all you need to do is email me at lookingforwardshow@gmail.com. lookingforwardshow@gmail.com. Send me your name, send me your concept or your idea, and we'd love to have you on. And that includes people that have some talents. Last year we had Maxie Mandel on, who had a whole bunch of songs that she's written, including one about George Floyd. And she's incredible. We hope to have her back on this year. But if you have something you'd like to share, please jump on. I will tell you today, this is starting off so crazy. In 2022, I thought for sure last year at this time that we'd be without masks and COVID be over, we all be healthy. And oh my gosh, was I wrong. So I went down to the show today and I went to get on air as I usually do at our Philly Cam studios. And lo and behold, the studio was closed. So probably because of because of COVID, maybe or maybe not, maybe just understaffed, who knows? But either way, I made it home and you're back in my home studio. So welcome to my home studio again, so we can do the show. We have an hour of looking back, and we're going to take today and look back over 2021 at a whole bunch of different events that happened, and also take a look forward and see what 2022 might hold for us, make some predictions, and really have a good time. I will want to give a shout out to Lou Narvaez, the District Director of Pennsylvania Probation and Parole. Lou is usually our first guest on the show, and he's usually on where we try to break down some silos, and he tells us what's happening in the Department of Corrections. Lou wasn't able to get on today because they're extremely busy in the Department of Corrections in Pennsylvania, and so he did call and send his regrets, but he will be on our next show, I promise. So I wanted to give a shout out to him, and also a good friend who I thought was going to be on one of our last shows, and I promised him to give him some airspace the next show. His name is Dean Beer. Dean used to be the public defender in Montgomery County, and he now is the executive director of the Homeless Advocacy Project in Philadelphia, and has been doing an amazing job working with men and women that don't have a place to live, that are looking for a home and some shelter and need some support. And Dean's a tremendous guy. He's been a good friend, and welcome Dean to the show. In the next few episodes, for sure, we'll be bringing him on. So today we're going a little out of character, and we're going out of character because I have, there's not many people in my world that I call friend. And that really happened, as many of you know my story. I had made some challenges in life, where made some bad choices that led to an indictment where I spent 5 years in a federal prison. And since I came home from prison, there just haven't been a lot of people that I can label as a friend. And in large part because I felt when I went away that a lot of the people that I thought were friends kind of disappeared and evaporated. And that kind of happens, I guess, when you go through the justice system. I get it. But this person has been a good friend since I've been home. And I'm so glad to have Jackie Polverari on the show today. And you're going to hear all about Jackie and the amazing work that she does. And so we're gonna get into that. And Jackie's going to spend the day with us and really spend the whole show. So without further ado, actually what we're going to do is I want to introduce Jackie, but I want to show you a short clip of who Jackie is and watch the photographs. And we're going to take a quick break. So watch this and listen to music if you're listening on the radio. And we'll be right back with Jackie. Back, and I welcome Jackie to the show. How are you, Jackie?
Good. Happy New Year.
So I should tell everyone that Jackie is the founder and executive director of Evolution Reentry Services, and they focus on the needs of helping women who've been incarcerated and are coming home. And she also has this tremendous podcast, the Criminal Justice Cafe, and she's got a whole laundry list of things that she does and keeps her busy, including, which I am most excited about, is Jackie was recently selected as a Just Leadership USA Fellow, and she is walking in wonderful footsteps and really excited about that. So how are you? Happy New Year.
You too. Happy New Year. I'm doing wonderful.
So you are located in Connecticut, correct?
I am.
Do you have snow up there yet?
No, which I hope we do. I love snow.
I know, I hope so. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, before we talk about the new year and all that stuff, I want to know about you. So tell me a little bit about Jackie. Tell us your story.
Oh, geez. Well, as you know, back in 2009, I made some really bad choices. I overstated my income on a mortgage application, and that was just when the mortgage industry was imploding. So I had a title company at the time, and I was indicted in 2014. For that. I pled guilty immediately. I got sentenced to 1 year and 1 day in women's federal camp in Danbury. I self-surrendered 6 years ago tomorrow, January 5th, 2015. And I came home in July of that year. And since then, I've had this fire in my belly and have been working on criminal justice reform and advocacy, especially as it pertains to women, because I think women are the forgotten people that are incarcerated. We are very often forgotten.
Yeah, for sure. So we came home about the same time.
Yeah.
And we first met through Jeff Grant. Jeff Grant's been a mutual friend of ours, and we are part of a white collar support group that's been meeting almost 300 occasions coming up this March that we've been together. And there's been this small band of us that have kind of really hung together closely. Jeff Grant, if you guys don't know Jeff Grant, you need to check him out online, because Jeff is just tremendous. And he also served some time away and has come home and created his whole new life. Recently got his law license back and is practicing again. And we're really excited for him and the amazing stuff that he's been doing. But we first met, and we met through Jeff. And the first time we met was like instant. We were both in the same place. We were both trying to figure out, like, what do we do? How do we survive? So just tell us a little bit, like, what was the challenge coming home? What was the biggest challenge for you?
I think it was rebuilding. I mean, I had to rebuild everything, gaining trust back, housing, getting financial freedom back. I think that's number one for every person who's away. You come home, you have no credit, you have to start all over again financially, just reconnecting and losing my friends, starting from ground zero. I mean, I was fortunate. I didn't have to worry about a job because I had my own company, but so many women, they come home. That is the largest challenge, as you know, I think is getting
Yeah, for sure. And what I think was so amazing about not only you're coming back, but you came back with this passion. Like, you could just see, you just looked at Jackie and she just had this fire in her belly. Like, you knew you were going to be successful. And you chipped away. You actually had a tremendous family that was behind you too. Your husband and your kids have all been so supportive of you, and your parents have been remarkably. And I've had a chance to meet them all, and it's been really a great experience, because oftentimes one of the things you lose when you go away is your family support, and when you come home, you don't have that. You've started and really found this niche where you're helping women. Can you tell us, is the work that you're doing behind the walls? Is it when they get home? Is it a little bit of both? How does that work?
Well, it is both. I decided I'm not a policy person, and I try to find my place. But my thing is just helping one woman at a time. So when someone is convicted and they are facing prison, I work with them to create some, I guess, truth and walk through their truth. And then while they're in prison, I stay connected with them. When they come home, we have a Wednesday night women's support group. And we have women all over the country that support other women. And it's really so for me, it's an empowerful experience. And these women are amazing.
It's funny, Jack. We do a lot of the same work, and I think a lot of times that it's so cathartic for me just helping someone else because you can relate so much to what they're going through and understand it. Can you tell us a little bit why is it so? And it is extremely different because I work with both men and women, but why is it so different? Why are the challenges different for women coming home than they are for men?
Well, I think the number one thing is family. A lot of these women are put away and taken away from their families and their children. So reconnecting with children is huge, and they're caregivers, and they're away for a long time. They come home, and I think they are put right back into the same situation they were very quickly, where I think men have a little bit more time that women do. I mean, I know when I came home, my daughters and my son both needed me, and when I came home, it's just you put right back into the situation. So you have to navigate the same obstacles that you navigated prior to prison, after prison, except you're a different person. So now inside you're different. And as you know, society keeps moving and it doesn't freeze, but in prison, we're frozen.
Yeah. So how would you say, dude, it's so true too, that things like inside you're like in this bubble and you're like living in this bubble and trying to navigate. How would you say that you've been changed the most out of all of this?
I am much more grateful to people. I am much more empathetic. I'll be honest, prior, I was quite judgmental. And
Wow.
I learned a big lesson. I mean, going to prison was a culture shock for me, and I loved it. I learned so much about diversity, and I learned so much about my sisters that were living with me. We lived together for 7 months, and the different cultures came together as one. And that's what we're missing out on in this world today.
Yeah.
Together as one.
Because we're all wearing orange or green wherever you are, the same thing. So people should know that Orange is the New Black was based on Danbury, and the facility that's where Piper Kerman was stayed at. And I'm curious, like you were there, so tell us the inside. How close to Orange is the New Black at what really happens at Danbury?
Well, if you take Orange is the New Black and what happens in one day on the show may happen in 3 years. And that was based on the FCI, which is a medium level. The camp, because she was at the FCI, the camp is a little bit different. It's even a lower, slower pace than the show may seem to be. But the first 3 episodes of that show are pretty accurate. They're very accurate. The surrender part, the very first show, was so accurate. The feelings that she was feeling that day, she really got down in the show.
Yeah, there's also there's a new movie that just came out. I think you guys had you actually posted about it recently, and I was wondering how close to that. And that's with oh, I forget her name, the
Sandra
actress.
Bullock.
So with Sandra Bullock, who does not look like Sandra Bullock. She's so beautiful.
I know.
But how often? I tell you, you've had a chance to look at that movie, to watch it.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
unforgivable.
Unforgivable. There you go. So a lot of times reliving this stuff is like, and I said sometimes when I'll watch these with Lisa, and we'll be sitting next to each other, and she'll be like, she'll see me close my eyes, and I'm like, yeah, that's way too close to home. That's like more real than real could be. And I wanted to. I often think that it would be really cool if I could take politicians and people that have never served a day in prison and put them inside just for a short period of time, just to experience what that's like.
Absolutely, without a doubt. One day in prison changes you. And a lot of people say, oh, you only got a year and a day. I had so many. It doesn't matter how long of a time you have. Everybody is changed from prison. That movie, and I really don't pump movies, but anybody watching needs to watch Unforgivable. And I can't really go into it because the ending is huge. So
yeah, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, but it is an accurate description of when you come home.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to talk more with Jackie, and we're going to take a break for a second. But again, I want everybody out there to know that if you have a show concept or a guest, you'd like to be on a guest on the show, it's really simple. Just send me an email, lookingforwardshow@gmail.com, and we'll talk, and we'll see if we can squeeze you in and give you some voice locally. I'm really excited about the next part of the show because we're going to be taking a dive into 2021. and really look. So those that are listening to the show, just listen to the music. Those that are watching, I want you to watch the pictures that come up because we're going to be talking about all of them in the next section. So we're right back with Jackie, and you're listening to the Looking Forward Show. Looking Forward. So we're here with Jackie Pulvereri. Jackie, thank you so much again for being with me today. I love spending this hour with you, and I was all excited this afternoon when I just knew it was going to be you and me. And I want to go back because I was challenged. I did some homework over the weekend and been thinking about since the last week, building up to the show, thinking about 2021, and I'm going to call this the year of loss. And I think it was really a year of loss. Like I kept thinking I couldn't find something that we gained. I found a few we're going to go through today, but I want to talk about the year of loss in 2022 and take a look back because so many things we lost. So I'm going to go through some of them and I want you to comment if something strikes a chord with you, jump in, we'll talk about it. But the first one I want to talk about, and these are in no particular order. So don't everyone start emailing me, yo, Mr. A, why didn't you make this one first? Or just in no particular order. I just wrote these out. These were all thoughts that came across my desk. And all right, here we go. So the first one that came across as a loss was we're actually the country of England lost Harry and Meghan.
Yes,
yeah.
did.
See ya. Wow. Cutting the
Was that
strings.
a horrible loss? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it all depends who you vote, what team you're voting for. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I'm Team Queen, so I love the Queen.
I do. We'll give us one of those Queen waves. Yes, I'm not sure whether it's a loss or not, but I do think it takes a lot of courage to break from a family like that, and I thought that was kind of neat. We lost two brothers had a big loss this year. We lost Mario Cuomo and we lost Chris Cuomo, and ironically, almost out of the same kind of incident, sexual harassment's been a big thing this year, and we've had a lot of people that have stepped forward that are, really being assertive with claims, and they're just it's one of those things in society that I just don't understand. I just don't get. Sexual harassment is the kind of thing that we need to stand up when this happens and respect the women that step forward and the men that step forward or transgender that step forward or those, and really give them space and make sure that their voices get heard.
I agree.
When it comes to Mario Cuomo, so you're in Connecticut, close to New York.
I am.
And I was wondering,
as a woman, I have a lot of feelings on this. So
go give it to us.
Yeah, it's. I think it's really difficult for any woman going up against any celebrity or powerful figure who is an executive or an executive assistant or just working within the broadcast station. I give so much kudos to those women who came forward. And unfortunately, it played out in the media. I hate that. That's the part I really hate about it. That when it is a celebrity, it plays out in the media and these women get killed, as well as the men. I mean, they do. It's just, it's a terrible situation.
Yeah, it's hard. I think we're just, we saw this recently with the actor from Sex and the City, where they came, some people came forward recently with some allegations. It's hard. I think that it's like when the bell is tolled in the media, it's tolled. And it's just like us. like when you commit a crime or you're in the news, you're in the news. Like it takes a lot to undo that bell, and most of the time you can't undo it. You can't take that ringing of the bell back because it's already been heard. And it reminds me, when I was a trial lawyer, there used to be a technique in trying cases where you'd say something you know was objectionable just so the jury could hear it. Like there's no way you could pull it out, suck it out of their brains. It wasn't happening, and that's just the way it worked. But Chris and Mario Cuomo, it was unfortunate because I think Mario Cuomo had some people that really liked him and some people that didn't like him in the state of New York. But also, I think that it was the reality that his brother was so close to it and CNN and reporting on it. It was just a bad, unfortunate situation that, I think is one thing is on a lot of people's radar screen, sexual harassment. And I'm glad that at least the topic is being discussed, and maybe women will feel safer coming forward and being able to share their experiences.
The thing that's upsetting, though, Jeff, about that is that Mario Cuomo has never taken responsibility.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is my largest problem with any criminal justice issue. Take responsibility so you can learn and move forward and help other people. And he hasn't done that.
So isn't that truth, though, with most people that do things that are that go against society or violate a law, that it'd be a lot more palatable. Like I made that decision early on. Like the second that I received a paper in the mail saying you did this wrong, I stood up and said, I did this wrong. And the way I looked at it was anything that flowed from that was on me. It wasn't on anybody else. So I had no reason to complain when I got a big sentence or, when something else happened, because that was on me. I started that ball rolling. And that self-responsibility, I think it would be more palatable for people and if they just stood up and accepted that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This year brought something really incredible, which was, we saw the George Floyd incident play out on televisions and across our country. Finally, we saw sort of the kind of the ending to that story with Derek Chauvin being found guilty of charges. And, people were preparing for what might happen if he was found not guilty. But I think responsibility and taking responsibility is something that in our judicial system sometimes happens and sometimes it's unexplainable, like that it doesn't. For different reasons. But I think we were relieved when we saw that guilty verdict for a lot of reasons that justice was done in that case. We had a year of loss when it comes to ships. We lost ships this year.
We did.
What's going on? We lost ships in the Suez Canal in the beginning of the year. That one of the freighters got stuck and then they couldn't get through the Suez Canal, which is like our main artery. It was incredible. And then we also recently had all these ships out to sea that couldn't get in and just could not find their way into ports in the United States.
You know what's funny? I looked at this. I don't know. It must have been last week. And they say that on average, more than 24 large ships sink in a year. I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that at all. Yeah. I was shocked about that. 24.
What's that from?
I read it on CNN.
Wow, I don't think we have that many ships that sink in Deadliest Catch show. You know the Deadliest Catch? I watched that.
I do.
I don't think we have that many ships lost there. That's a lot. But the containers and our infrastructure was a big deal this year, especially coming into Christmas, where we had all these ships off port and all this merchandise. And we saw what happens when infrastructure fails. All our prices went up. And, we were worried about Christmas and not getting things. And we seem to work through that. But the reality is that we got to do a better job in infrastructure, which leads to jobs and transportation and warehousing, all which are extremely reentry friendly, mind you. But those are the kinds of things that we really need to think about. So another fun story of the year was Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin discharged a gun and tragically killed the director of photography and injured the director of the show.
How does that happen?
I have no idea.
I mean, I'm a member of the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. I don't know if you know that. I've been a member since 19.
Were you in a show?
No, I did wardrobe backstage. I've been a member since 1999. So I know a little bit about props and wardrobe. And I thought, how does that happen? How does he, by accident, kill somebody?
I have no idea, but I always thought those guns had paintballs in them. I
Yeah.
never realized that they were, and they could even possibly be real guns. Yeah. So we'll see that I think we'll that whole story may come out this year in 2022. That's a look ahead. So another story was Richard Branson and Blue Horizon. So I watched this recently. Well, first I was taken back when Captain Kirk went up into space in Blue Horizon. William Shatner was on there, and then all of a sudden I saw William Shatner was on, and then they sent Michael Strahan on,
Yeah.
and Michael Strahan was on there, and I was like, oh my gosh! So I was really intrigued. So I spent my Saturday morning watching this space go up for 11 minutes. I thought like originally they were gonna be like 4 days, 5 days. That'd be pretty cool. 11 minutes. I like sneezed. I went up for some coffee and came back downstairs, and they were landed already. I was like, whoa, what's going on? But it is kind of cool because
very cool.
yeah, I mean, just to go up into space, the notion of going up and then coming back down, but the rocket ship landed right in the target zone. Like when it came back down, I was like, oh man, that's like just taking going down the highway and coming back home, planning right back in your driveway.
I think I love the most that Richard Branson got to do it before Jeff Bezos.
There we go. There you go.
He set launch before Bezos did. That was just for me is
well, when Bezos goes up, what he's doing, he's taking a whole bunch of Amazon packages. He's going to deliver them, shoot them out. Yeah,
I thought one just appeared on my front store, my front stoop one day, and I'm like, wow, that must be came from
Hey, you never know. It could have been one of those drone delivery services. That's going to be 2022. You're going to see drone delivery services in 2022. I actually think every Amazon package should have a device in it that if anyone steals it, that there like is an infrared signal that tags them, so everyone in the universe will know that they stole this package from your front steps or driveway.
A little camera showing them running away.
I'm working on that. I don't want anybody in my audience to steal that. I'm working on it.
I just wrote it down, Jeff. Sorry, I'm stealing it.
No worries. No worries. You can steal anything. So the other big thing that happened this year was the infrastructure bill. Really amazing concept. We spent 1.2 trillion dollars in a bill that was signed, and it's for highways and bridges and roadways and water safety and internet access. Some really great things. So
and the Build Back, it also was the Build Back Better Act.
The Jobs. Well, it's the Jobs Act, and great. I mean, I think it's a great law. So here's my challenge in 2022. I want this on everyone's radar screen because I want you to say, "Looking Forward Show brought it to you first." Was I believe that a lot of that money is going to go unspent unless we train people and educate them to get those jobs. And that's the real fear I have right now with the infrastructure legislation and bills is that, the people that need these jobs most often don't have the education or skill development in order to be able to be successful at them.
And they can't afford the education.
Yeah.
And that's a huge problem. And needs to be addressed in 2022. Looking forward,
we need to. So I want everybody to know we're going to work on that this year, and all the things I'm doing, it's a center of my universe. I really want to make sure affordable education and skill development and training is there for everybody, including those people that are justice involved. And we're gonna make it happen. So one of the biggest things that happened this year was something that I still have nightmares over was our the Capitol insurrection.
Oh,
and I was I never thought I'd see the day when our capital would be overtaken.
You know where you were when it happened?
No, where was I? I don't know. Some things I remember. Like I remember on 9/11 that I was playing golf. Isn't that terrible?
It is. I don't remember where I was on 9/11, believe it or not. But I do remember where I was with the Capitol. And I was sitting in my office and I heard it. My father was in like 3 rooms over and I heard it on the TV and I put it on and I'm thinking, this has to be a movie. How is that? How is this happening in our country?
Wow. Yeah, crazy. And it's still going on. We're still learning all the facts of what might have happened and who knew what and who knew where. But the bottom line is I think it was a valuable lesson. And I do believe this. I think that we those events happen for a reason to kind of keep us grounded and so that we don't take advantage or take our democracy for granted. and I think it brings us back in line sometimes. So that was pretty cool. We lost some big things when it came to natural disasters today. So I don't believe anyone that says there's no climate change going on. I don't believe it for a second. We had Hurricane Ida that devastated Louisiana, and most recently Mayfield, Kentucky, where you lost an entire town, just was obliterated right off the map. And
catastrophic flooding. It was terrible.
Yeah, just terrible everywhere. It still is. And then these are things that we lost. We had some loss of life. So we lost a lot of people to COVID this year. And we also lost Betty White. We lost Colin Powell, who I thought would have been an amazing president. We lost Hank Aaron. We lost Bob Dole. And we lost Cecily Tyson and John Madden, just to name a few of them. But I want to mention a few that you haven't heard. And these are in Philadelphia. We lost 559 men and women to homicides in our city. It is the most homicides the city of Philadelphia has ever had, and 15 to 20% increase from last year, with almost 1,800 shootings in our city. It's just a tragedy, and I want everyone in Philadelphia, the suburban areas, in our county and across the country to know that gun violence is not something that we should tolerate. And we have to stand up and we have to say this is just not acceptable. And looking at the root of the problem means looking at the root of the causes of the problem. So I was able to I was doing some homework and literally looking at this. One of the things that struck me recently was some things going on here in Philadelphia prisons, where we've had so many deaths in the last year from people inside of our Philadelphia jail. It's been horrible. But I pulled up recently this article about Rikers Island. So we had more deaths in Philadelphia jail than they had in Rikers Island last year, and which is crazy because we're 1/3 of the population.
That's remarkable.
But Rikers Island, they put out this article of all the 15 people that died in jails in Rikers Island. And it actually talks about everyone and how they died. If you have a chance, it's on the Intelligencer. It's an article called 15 it's Rikers, the Obituaries. And if you can check it out, these stories are just incredible about people that some of them should never even have been in prison to begin with, and yet ended up dying because of their time away. So for 22, we're going to be looking at some of those things. That's 22 on the bad stuff. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about the good stuff. And then we're going to share some of the good things and then talk a little bit more about reentry and what's going to happen in 2022. So this is Jeff and Jackie, and we're the Looking Forward Show. We'll be right back. The Looking Forward Show. I'm here with my guest, Jackie Polverari. Jackie, thank you again for being here. I love you to death. And I wanted to, we've been talking about 2021 and all the bad stuff. So there's been some good. So give me something good that happened to you last year.
God.
Come on, I know you had.
Sure.
Come on, doesn't.
I will say what happened good this past year. My daughter got engaged.
I was going to say, I knew something good happened.
My little one. She's not little anymore, but.
Wow, congratulations. That's pretty exciting. Yeah, my daughter got married twice.
I know. We're old.
We are old, but yeah, but you know what? It's all good stuff. It was really it's great to see your kids grow up and be happy and healthy. But there are some other good things that happened in 2021. One was Juneteenth became a federal holiday. Wasn't that interesting?
It's interesting. It was. Yeah. And how did that happen?
I don't know. I think it was important. Speaking of that, if you're into books, so you have to read this book. It's called The 1619 Project, and it's by Nicole Hannah Jones, and it's a great book. And if you want to learn about Black history, this is a book that's a must read for you. So I encourage you in 2022, this is what you need to look at. So I
1619.
just started the 1619 Project. Great book.
Mm,
So some of the other things, vaccines became available to everybody, which is a
did.
big deal. Big deal that couldn't come soon enough. The state of California returned land to Black owners at Bryce's Beach, which is
How
crazy.
amazing was that, though?
Man, that's like, yeah, I can't imagine any government agency saying we messed up and now here, let's reverse and let's give it back to you. Yeah, 1924, they took the land, and then all of a sudden, they realized they were wrong. I read something that I highlighted on my show about a month and a half ago, and it was about a Florida program where they were giving in Florida $500 for everyone that left prison unconditionally for a year every month. And you could do it with whatever you want. We used to have
It was state prison, right?
it was state prison, yeah. And it was $500 a month for a year. Just remarkable to think about that and the difference. And they really believe that it will cut their recidivism rate in half, simply because they're providing people with some resources when they get home.
I would
And
say more than in half, don't you think?
I would think so too, but who knows? I had $22 when I came home.
Yeah, I had probably 430 in the bank, and that's it. That's it.
Wow.
Not knowing what was going to happen.
Yeah, that's kind of scary. And I lived in a shelter because I couldn't afford a home. Not like so I just really had to figure that out. But yeah, giving somebody that kind of money just unconditionally is, I think, a great way to start or think about it. And some people say, well, why should you give it to them? Well, gosh, we gave so many people COVID relief that, over the last year. And a lot of people, I think, are still kind of living off of it a little bit. So there's a gentleman named Juan Rivera. So Juan Rivera was wrongfully convicted of murder, and he used his settlement money in a civil suit that he had to open a barber college. I thought that was cool.
Get out. And a lot of states you can't even sue some states when you come home if you were wrongfully convicted.
I know. I don't get that either.
I don't understand it either.
Governmental immunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A barber college. It's amazing.
But a barber college. Yeah, good stuff. The minimum wage across the country jumped a lot. So I like that we saw that the minimum wage making some progress there. And this is most interesting, is that the population of U.S. prisons is the lowest that's been since 1995. And we could say that a lot of it's from COVID, because we know that they're not opening their doors, just letting people out.
I know. But the CARES Act helped that along a lot.
Yeah, I think so. So give me your take on the CARES Act. Do you think it's been a good thing for people? I mean, I know a lot of people are breathing a sigh of relief because President Biden recently said that he's going to extend and not allow or have people come back inside.
That's huge. And that's important. I have a lot of women I work with that are home due to the CARES Act and are reestablishing in their community, getting jobs. If they had to go back, it would be devastating for them. I mean, the trauma that would create, it's horrible.
Yeah, I'm not really even sure how that logistically would work, because I know that a lot of people would do whatever they can to try to stay home. But inside of our prisons right now, what's your sense, and what are you hearing inside of the prisons at Danbury or wherever else you are about what's going on with COVID?
The thing about it is that I get sad about the federal prisons because nothing is the same from one prison to the next. West Virginia and Alderson, they're covered. COVID is horrible there, and they're just not letting women home. Danbury cleared itself out. I think there's 43 women there maybe now. When I was there, it was 216. Wow. So it was really cleared out. And they did that because Yale sued them. Yale law students sued Danbury and won, and in behalf of the inmates, and they won. So they were forced to let a lot of those men and women home on the CARES Act. But I really think that COVID is a huge problem in prisons. It really is, because you can't. How do you isolate someone, Jeff? How do you do that in prison? You can't really.
Yeah, so many things, so many facets of this. One is that we're seeing a lot of the guards in prisons are not vaccinated. So there's only one way, if you're in prison, that something gets in, and that's if it's brought in from the outside, and contraband gets in sometimes. But to have guards not vaccinated, they're really, because when people come into the system, they're quarantined for a few weeks
Yeah.
initially, so that
And
make
it's
sure
not
that
visiting. So it's
it's
not
not
visiting.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a lot. That's really frustrating. The other thing that's really frustrating for me is that during COVID, there's a tremendous amount of lockdowns going on. And were you ever in solitary? Did you ever go into the hole or shoe
No.
there?
Oh, at the
So
camp, they didn't have that. Did you?
it's really, yeah. When we were first brought in, that was a holding place, and I'll tell you the thing that's scary about it is it's really it plays with your mind. Just a day or two in solitary or in the hole, because you're just in a small cell, maybe 10 by 12 with very little there, and there's just nothing to keep your mind busy. And now imagine over a 2-year period, we have men and women sitting in prison with no programming, and they're not allowed out of their cells, or they're only allowed in their unit. I just gotta believe there's a trauma to this, that we're only going to see the tip of it when COVID begins to let up and people start coming home, because I've been pushing hard recently to try and get education ramped back up. And I think that we have a captive audience. Those men and women that are inside now, they can be doing GED classes and doing other classes and things to keep themselves busy. Let's teach them a trade, give them safety certifications in COVID-19 cleaning and all those things that maybe they can use when they come home. And I'm really frustrated when I hear facilities are really not actively programming and doing things. And don't tell me it's about technology.
Yeah, it's really not. The mental health piece to it is truly going to be a huge problem when these people come home. I mean, they're going to isolate themselves, and that isolation is huge. However, a good thing, Bard College has teamed up. I don't know if you know this, Bard College teamed up with Just Leadership, and they've created
Nice.
an amazing educational piece. I watched College Behind Bars. If you watch anything great in the next couple of weeks, Jeff, watch a documentary called College Behind Bars. It'll give you a really good, boost of energy about the education system behind bars. I mean,
Yeah, the whole idea. Well, Stan Andreas, who is a doctor who wrote a book about prison education, and including his work on the Pell Grant work that's been being done. And Stan was a Just Leadership Fellow. We need to do more education inside of our walls and really get people back on their feet. And we have the technology to do it. I mean, there are tablets inside of facilities now. Were there tablets at
not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the federal prisons just don't do it. A lot of the state prisons now have implemented. I have a couple women that are in state prisons that have tablets, but they still have no programming. They have tablet programming.
So that's a frustrating thing too, is, we talk about our federal system, and it's less than 2% of our entire prison population is in our federal system. The majority of people that are incarcerated are inside of our states and jails around the country. And that's really where we need to be centered on, how do we get people home quickly and into careers, and not just jobs, and really give them those trainings. I know that I've been doing a project with the U.S. Department of Education on IETs, integrated education trainings, which are behind the walls, and really giving people. And I was just using, I didn't have it, I left it upstairs, but I went to West Virginia to a prison there, and they have a workshop where men get to learn how to do carpentry. And one of the young men made a pen out of wood. And he used a lathe to make it. And he asked if it was okay. He gave me the pen when I left, and I still have it. I use it. But just teaching people that, and it also gives them that sense of accomplishment. Like, it's sort of for some people, the first time in their lives that they're doing something productive. And
have you ever been to the Maine state? My daughter lives in Maine, so we've been going recently quite a bit. And I stopped at the Maine State Prison store. And I wanted to go in to see what it was up. This store, Jeff, is amazing. It's fully run by prisoners in Maine, the state of Maine, and everything that's sold in store they make. And the furniture in that store is unbelievable. It is an amazing program. They are learning a trade. The women are knitting and making things. Every state should have something like that. I really believe it was just an amazing experience going in there, talking to the inmates that were working there.
So what's so crazy about that is I was at a conference. I spoke at a conference a few months ago, and I was listening. I just happened to know who the speaker was, and he was from Maine, and he heads their Department of Corrections there. And he was telling us during his lecture that Maine is one of those states that recently opened the door up to internet usage. So they have a program there where inmates can use the internet. And they said they've only had one violation of anyone accessing something that they shouldn't. And but really remarkable. Now, he said, I said, we should pilot this across the country. And he said it's really remarkable when you give people that access and you tell them it's one and done. Like you don't get a second bite at the apple. If you will forever be barred from you. And this is interesting too, because in Israel, in their prison system in Israel, individuals get out from Friday night until Sunday night. And every across the board, every individual. Yeah. And what happens is if you miss one time or if you're late one time, it's once in your life. You don't get it again. So you get this once in a lifetime. And if you ever miss or get back, you can bet they're early. They come back.
Oh, yeah, I would. Right.
Yeah. I was just, Lisa was telling me the statistic yesterday. We were talking about it, about jails. And she said in the Netherlands, they're getting rid of all of their jails. And what are they making? They're closing them, making schools. They're putting schools in there, or they're putting refugee centers. Wow, that'd be great.
Isn't it great? The Netherlands are so far above us.
Oh, yeah. I was laughing there. They're making some of them into hotels. Wouldn't that be fun? Like go to a hotel for the weekend and live in a cell?
No, it would not be fun. There's a restaurant somewhere I was reading about that is based on prison. And I thought, who would go there and want to sit in a cell and eat dinner?
I don't know. I know that I wouldn't particularly. I
do want to backtrack 1 minute and give a kudos because I forgot about there's a culinary training program. Have you heard about the restaurant Edwin's?
So Brandon Cheskowski is a good friend. So I've been to
amazing.
Cleveland. Yeah. Good. Give it to us.
I read about this. I had to look him up. And one of the women I work with is from the restaurant business. And she connected with him. And he's going to give her a chance. And in this culinary program that he has, that is just something I wish every employer would mimic and be as empathetic as this gentleman. I didn't know you knew him.
So not only do I know him, but I've been to, he was on my show. He was on our show here. Okay. And Brandon, and I was out in Cleveland because Lisa's daughters live in Cleveland. And we were out there and he had us for dinner. And the highlight of the night was at the end of the meal, a gentleman comes up and he had Bananas Foster sent over to us. And, Bananas Fosters, they light it on fire. It's real fancy. And I always say it was an amazing Bananas Foster. But the smile on this gentleman's face when he got done cooking in front of us was like he had just won the Super Bowl. It was like the most incredible sense of accomplishment. And I wish for all of my students, as a matter of fact, I actually have that slide deck in all my decks. I have that slide of that one gentleman because it's so impactful. He's a great guy and doing some really, really neat things. And if you ever get a chance to get out to Edwin's, try and follow them. They have a cafe and some other things going on there now too. So you're listening to Looking Forward Show, and Jackie and I probably could talk for the next 3 weeks together. We have about 10 minutes left, but we're going to be right back in a second. We're going to be breaking down some silos and talking about 2022. We'll be right back. The Looking Forward Show. We are back. I'm here with my good friend Jackie. We're talking about justice. We're talking about looking forward and looking back. And you are listening to Philly Cam Radio. We are on 106.5 FM. We'll be playing tomorrow on the radio. And we're live now through Philly Cam Television, streaming on Xfinity and Vios, Roku, Apple TV, and Facebook Live. And just having some great conversation today. So I'm grateful for you to be here. I want to talk about 2022 for a minute because I really think looking back is one thing, but looking forward is another.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious, like from your perspective, if there were some things that are in your wish list for 2022 that you'd like to see, like what's up high there? I know you don't have to give me number one or two, but what's up on your list?
Oh, easy, full vaccine eligibility for every ages and everyone getting vaccinated. I
Wow.
think that's huge. 2022. Let's get vaccinated.
Yeah, I think that's wow. I think that's got to be everybody's number one, pretty much. Is get vaccinated, get
Yeah,
protected, and so you can protect others. And
yeah.
that's very high on my screen. When it comes to just justice, things that in our justice system that you like to see change. I have a bunch of them that come to mind really pretty quickly. I'd like to definitely like to see bail reform happen this year. I think a lot of our bail system and a lot of things that happen. I've been working on a project recently, and maybe I'm letting the cat out too early, but I think that we need to hold reentry friendly employers accountable. I know a lot of people in today's economy are jumping in the pool of hiring people that are justice involved, and that's awesome,
Yeah.
really remarkable. But I also think that sometimes, with the best of intentions, we could do the most of harm, and we should be held accountable as employers, those people that are jumping in the pool, to really know that people are being hired at a living wage and that they're given an opportunity to advance. So it's not just an entry level position.
Well,
And
I
that
hate that we have to even say reentry um, friendly employers. That really bothers me. Every employer should be open to hiring anyone who has done their time in our home.
Yeah. Unfortunately, one of the suspect classifications in our Constitution is not reentry or criminal justice
I
involvement,
know. I
but it
know.
should be. But yeah, no, really true. I just I'm a little frustrated. Maybe you can help me with this one. Is diversity, equity, and inclusion has been a big topic over the last 2 years, and I think it needs to continue to take center stage in our country, and we need to figure this out. I think we are. I would say in 21, it was more like diversity and confusion because I
Yeah.
really don't think people really knew what to do or how to do it. And there are some great people out leading the charge. My partner Lisa Lords is one of them across the country doing some amazing work. But I do think that we're not. We need to keep it center stage, and if we're going to change, we need to keep chipping away at it. And especially for our LGBTQ family and communities, I just don't think we're doing enough yet.
We are
I'm
not. We are definitely not. I mean, as you know, I'm huge into LGBTQ equality. My son is gay, and I could tell you, it is a big barrier in a lot of things that he should not have to go through. So I'm very passionate about that. We definitely need inclusion more and more and more.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think as we become more aware and educate ourselves, we become sensitive. One of the things that I often am challenged by with is the color of my skin. I work in a community where a lot of the population we work with is marginalized. They're black and brown, Latina, and oftentimes, I get this, well, what do you know kind of thing. And it's really not until you know this more than anybody. It's not
Mhm.
until you open the words with the words, I'm a convicted felon, that all of a sudden they say, oh, he gets it. All
You
right,
know,
you're in the club. Come on in. You can come in. Yeah, a lot of times it's not until you open that door and you can share some of those experiences. But I often say that a lot of the work I do is because of the experiences I had in prison with the men and women that were black and brown that taught me so much
same.
about life. And I really so ever grateful and try to stay in contact with some of them because I think it's an important part of my education and just continuing to learn.
Let me
So
ask you, Jeff, what do you feel about this? Is something I'd love to see change in the justice system in 2022 is the language that we use towards people who are incarcerated. So people come home and we call them convicts and felons and inmates, and they're home. If you're being told you're an offender over and over while you're home, how are you going to succeed? You're going to start believing you're an offender. It's important. Language is important to me.
yeah, we did a whole show on words matter. I was on a project with the Philadelphia Inquirer last year where we brought all of their main writers in, and we had them sit down we met once or twice a month for a few months, for 4 or 5 months, and we all talked about the language that they use in describing people that committed offenses and the harm that they do when they label people that way.
Yeah.
It should be this humanity language, this humanity first language.
Mhm.
I agree. I think I get shivers down my spine when I hear somebody use the word offender or ex-felon. I mean, you can't be ex at anything, to be honest. It's like, it just
It's
doesn't
got
make
to start in the colleges, though. I'm back in college, as you know, and I'm getting my master's in criminal justice. The textbook that we use, the textbook, the name of it, offender reentry. That was the name of the textbook. And I went through this whole semester of hearing those words over and over. So they're being taught, kids in college, adults in college are being taught to use that language. And it was very upsetting to me.
Yeah, I
My
totally
mouth
agree.
stood up.
Somebody recently called me on the carpet on it, and they said they didn't like the word reentry. And I kind of agree. Reentry is kind of just a point in time in life when somebody goes to another place. They're returning from somewhere, but the closest that I've come to anything acceptable was just justice involved. It's kind of a neutral term, just says that they were involved somewhere in the system. And I haven't figured anything better than that out. I'm working on it, though. I hope there is. And I hope there comes a time where we don't need anything at all. I think we all make choices in our life. And sometimes those choices, lead us down a path. Unfortunately, many times they don't end up in incarceration or in prison or jail or in the justice system. But sometimes those choices aren't so great. One of the lines I use frequently is, Einstein said that if you make 10 bad choices a day, you're just not trying hard enough. And that's because you make choices, and bad choices are how you learn. You do something wrong and you fix it and you get better and better at it. And that's what has to happen.
And the thing about it is, though, you go to prison and you feel horrible about it yourself. I mean, I self-destructed. So obviously I was darkest moments of my life. So I know that a lot of people don't have a lot of empathy towards this, but let me explain. If anybody's watching, if you're in prison, you are feeling pretty low. And to be called an offender and to be called a convict and a criminal is just hurting your mental health more. So be a little bit more sensitive to that.
Absolutely. So, Jackie, I know that congratulations on going back to your master's as well, and really proud of the going back to school, and you're doing so much. There you go. You're doing so much. But I did want to, if people want to reach you, if they wanted to find out a little bit more about the work you're doing and the organization and how to get support from Evolution Reentry Services, how can they reach you?
evolutionreentry@gmail.com. Please reach out. We have a great Wednesday night support group for women and their families. So we have women whose husbands are in prison. We have daughters whose moms are in prison, all on our group. And it's just, we support each other one woman at a time.
Awesome. And your podcast, the Criminal Justice Cafe, is that still going?
It is. It is on YouTube. We are on Apple Podcasts, all of Pandora, all of them, iHeart.
Love it.
Find us easily.
Jackie, thank you so much for being on. I'm so grateful for you as a friend, and I wish you all the best in 2022. Before we go today, just have one or two announcements. And one is that we have the Looking Forward program in Philadelphia is a reentry program that really takes people where they are. And if you need some support, you've come home and you're struggling, anything from diapers for your children to career opportunities and some jobs. Right now, we really have more jobs and opportunities than ever before. So please reach out. You can find Looking Forward. You can call them directly at 484-533-7002 or lookingforward@jevs.org. Easy to get to. And again, wealth of services there. And as my staff says, it's free 95. Doesn't cost you anything at all. Just pick up the phone and it's a great opportunity. Also, I want to give a shout out to one of our other partners, ICJ, Institute for Community Justice. They're doing some amazing work in Philadelphia. And ICJ is located at 1207 Chestnut Street. Reentry Center. They have case management, prison support, health linkages, and a whole bunch of other good support services. So reach out to ICJ. They can be reached at 833-763-4448. And I'll post these on our website and my website. And again, if you want to be a guest on Looking Forward Show, please just send me an email, lookingforwardshow@gmail.com. It's been great, Jackie. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.